Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Manish Shrestha, working as Assistant Professor at Haryana School of Business, GJ University of Science and Technology, Hisar. Today, we are going to discuss about the topic performance reward. Before starting the discussion, let's have a look at the contents. The discussion will start with introduction, followed by definition of performance reward, approaches to performance reward, sources of performance reward, process, methods, and factors affecting performance reward. The discussion will end with a summary. By the end of this module, students will be able to understand the concept of performance management, identify various methods of performance reward, know about different factors affecting performance reward. Performance is basically the work which an employee does. It refers to the degree of accomplishment of the tasks that make up an employee's job. It reflects up to what extent an employee is performing his or her duties. Thus, performance is an outcome of employee's job performance including quality, quantity, cooperativeness, punctuality, and commitment at work. Evaluating employee performance is part of a performance management system, which is a process of establishing performance standards and appraising employee performance in order to arrive at objective human resources decisions as well as to provide documentation to support those decisions. The performance reward is a critical part of performance management system. Thus, the current performance of employees must be known for improving the performance of employees. This information is collected through performance reward. Performance reward is an assessment of an employee's performance including the measures of productivity which quantifies the output and inputs of an employee and expresses the two as a ratio. Generally, the ratio is expressed as output to input. Effectiveness, which means the relationship of an employee's output to organizational goals and objectives. Quality, which examines an output or the process by which an output is produced. Quality is indicated by attributes such as accuracy and complexity, and timeliness, which evaluates the time involved in producing an appropriate output. Performance of the employees can be appraised in many ways, such as trait-based. This includes information related to personality and creativity and has little to do with the job. Behavior-based. Information is collected on specific behavior of employee with team members and customers. And result-based information is measurable and appropriate, such as how many units of a product have been sold by the salesman. The performance reward information can be categorized into several groups, such as evaluation. With the help of performance reward, comparisons between different employees can be done, which in turn helps in taking various decisions like compensation increase, promotion, retention, termination. Personal development. It helps employees in improving their performance by providing feedback, identifying strengths and weaknesses, reassignments, and identification of training needs. Another type of information is related to system maintenance, development of individual and organizational goals, assessment of goal achievement on the basis of performance information, determination of training needs to identify organizational needs and to audit human resource management systems. And finally, the information related to documentation, maintenance of performance records which can be used as documentation for different purposes like legal requirements, identification of training needs and validation research. Thus, performance reward is very helpful in improving performance of individual and organizational competitiveness. Let's try to understand the concept of performance reward through various definitions. Performance reward is the process of evaluating how well employees perform their jobs when compared to a set of standards and then communicating that information to those employees. Performance reward is the process of identifying, evaluating, and developing the work performance of employees in the organization so that the organizational goals and objectives are effectively achieved while at the same time benefiting employees in terms of recognition, receiving feedback, catering for work, and offering career guidance. Also, performance reward is considered as the process of determining and communicating to an employee how he or she is performing on job, ideally establishing a plan of improvement. When properly conducted, performance reward not only let employees know how well they are performing but also influence their future level of effort and task direction. At the end, performance reward is a formal management system that provides for the evaluation of the quality of an individual's performance in an organization. There are two approaches to performance reward. These approaches are evaluative approach and development approach. According to evaluative approach, performance of previous year is used to make decisions related to promotions, demotions, and transfers. It is also used for determining the effectiveness of recruitment and selection. However, some of the limitations of performance reward are absence of predetermined performance standards. Here, managers and employees might disagree on standards of performance. The manager rates those practices which he or she feels are essential for effective performance of employee's job, and the employee does the same thing. Their perspectives hardly coincide at every point. Therefore, they do not agree on the actual level of the employee performance. Another problem is absence of valid document for validation of performance. Some employees consider rewards as an opportunity to reaffirm their value to the firm and to celebrate their growth and accomplishments over the previous years. Whereas for some employees, rewards are demotivating and threatening. They may feel that performance reward spoils their image in the organization. Under these situations, employees do not agree with the reward. The focus of developmental approach is on the developmental needs of employees. Managers act as mentor or coach for rewarding performance of employees. Managers also take necessary steps to improve performance of the employees. The developmental approach has all features of an evaluative approach, but under this approach, reward of employees is done as individuals. It tries to use performance reward as a method of increasing the motivation and development of employees. They are motivated to show interest for their personal development so that they can be challenged sufficiently to keep them interested in routine works. The developmental approach acts as a foundation for regular communication between management and employees to detect problems, discuss solutions, and helps management in dealing with personal issues effectively so that they does not affect the performance of employees on the job. The developmental approach is used for traditional overall organizational perform reward purposes, and certain additional purposes are there, such as it provides opportunity to the employees to clearly tell the direction and level of the employee's ambition. It shows interest of organizations in development of employees. This helps the organization in retaining talented, ambitious, and capable employees with them for a longer period of time. It also provides a structure through which employees and management can communicate with each other and it also provides motivation and satisfaction to the employees who perform very well. Developmental approach to performance reward improves development of employees through the following ways. The first one is focus development. Expectations of organization from its employees can be communicated with the help of performance rewards. This helps in improving motivation of employees and their personal development. Second one is support employee development needs. This includes initiating training when the employee is new to the organization and ongoing training programs which motivate employees to participate in problem solving groups and in initial training process. Career development. Organization should show that self-development is important by advertising opportunities and promoting internally. This will satisfy employees that they can easily grow within the organization and a lot of opportunities are available within the organization for the growth. Performance reward aims to position employees on a pay band based on their individual or team performance. Different sources of performance reward are present. One of the source of performance reward is combination of group and individual reward. The aim of performance reward is to identify these employees whose main motive is to improve their performance rather than their service. In some cases, individual rewards is important, where in few cases group reward is more important. Sometimes there may be a mismatch between a manager's own performance and of the group. In such cases, individual reward should improve the individual performance, whereas group alone may be obscured the problem. The difference between individual and group reward is that individual reward is based upon the confidentiality of an individual perform reward, whereas group reward is shared amongst the team members. Reward by supervisor. It is the most popular method of reward and is based on the belief that manager can judge the performance of his employees in the best possible manner. However, there are few limitations of this method of reward, such as managers has complete power to punish and reward employee. The evaluation is only one way. Sometimes manager cannot give proper feedback on performance to the employees. Because of such limitations, other sources of employee reward are also used, like self-reward, upward reward, etc. Self-reward is the technique of evaluating your own performance and then discussing this with your line managers. Self-reward is more suitable when the managers want to increase an employee's involvement in the process of performance reward. Employees are required to think about their strengths and weaknesses. Under this, managers and employees together discuss and establish future goals. This method is very famous because it is believed that if employees participate in the reward process, then they feel more committed to their jobs and it helps to reduce role conflict. But one of the limitations of self-reward is that it is subject to systematic biases and distortions. To overcome this limitation, another variation of self-reward is introduced, which is known as self-initiated reward, which has become very popular. In this system, every employee can ask for review from his manager anytime he wants, but this method of reward is suitable only for small organizations because it is a very time consuming activity. Peer review. Peer review method was introduced in early 1900s. One of the assumptions of this method is that co-employees who perform similar tasks have more knowledge about the work than a manager and they can evaluate the work more efficiently. But sometimes peer review is not considered fair. Peer review has certain limitations, such as Peer review may be simply a popularity stunt. Managers are hesitant to give up control over the reward process. Those recording low ratings might retaliate against their peers. Peers rely on stereotypes in ratings. Upward reward. Employees deal and interact with managers very frequently and therefore they can evaluate them in a better way. But sometimes, when employees have some personal conflicts with the manager, then they may harm or backstab their managers. Another limitation of this method is that employees sometimes do not have access to all the dimensions of managerial performance and therefore employees might not evaluate performance correctly and honestly. Multi-score assessment. Under this method of reward, information about the employee is collected from all angles like superiors, peers, subordinates and customers because different aspects of work can be assessed by different people. For example, superiors can assess leadership qualities, subordinates can assess coordinating abilities, peers can judge teamwork, and customers can judge the service quality. Different organizations use different methods for identifying rewards. Steps involved in a good reward systems are establishment of performance standards. In this, the reward process starts with the establishment of criteria to be used for appraising the performance of employees. The criteria can be specified with the help of job analysis which indicated the contents of the job. This criteria must be objective, clear and in writing. It must be discussed with the supervisors so as to ensure that all the important factors have been included and nothing relevant has been missed out. If the output can be measured easily, then the criteria is clear. But if the performance cannot be measured easily, the personal characteristics which contribute to employee performance should be determined. Some of the examples of these characteristics include quality of work, leadership, cooperation, and teamwork. These standards must be written on the reward form. Who shall be appointed as appraiser and how frequently reward is to be done must be decided in advance. Second step is communication of standards to all employees. All the employees must be communicated properly so that they are aware of what is expected of them. Employees must be asked whether they agree or not with the standards and necessary changes must be made according to the suggestions made by the employees. Measurement of performance. After setting up the performance standards, actual performance of the employees is measured. For this purpose, the best technique of correctly measuring the performance has to be chosen. Internal and external factors affecting the performance must be identified and information on the results achieved is to be collected. All this information can be obtained from written reports, face-to-face contact, personal observation, etc. The performance of employees should be measured in such a way that it is easy to compare the performance of one employee with the other. Comparison of actual performance with standards. After this, the actual performance is compared with the predetermined performance standards. This comparison might disclose some differences. These differences can be positive or negative. Positive differences occur when the actual performance is better than the standards, whereas negative deviation reflects that the actual performance is poorer than the standards. Discussion of reward with employees. The results of the reward are then discussed with the employees along with the reasons behind them. Such discussion helps the employees to identify their strengths and weaknesses so that they can be motivated to improve their performance. After discussing with the employees all the necessary steps which are required to improve the performance of the employees are identified and initiated. Performance can be improved with the help of training, coaching and counseling. There are various methods of performance reward. These are depicted as confidential report. This is a traditional method of reward used by most of the government organizations. Confidential report is prepared by the immediate supervisor. Confidential report consists of strengths and weaknesses, personality and behavior, main achievements and failures of the employees. This is a descriptive method of reward mainly used for transfers and promotions of the employees. But it involves a lot of subjectivity because this kind of reward is done on the basis of impressions rather than data. Free form or essay method. Under this method, the evaluator evaluates the performance of the employee and writes a short essay on his performance on the basis of overall impression. The description must be factual and concrete. An essay provides detailed information, but this method suffers from few limitations. First is it can be biased because evaluation is not done on the basis of specific performance dimensions related to the job. Secondly, the quality of reward depends on the writing skills of the evaluator rather than the performance of the employee. Thirdly, this method consumes a lot of time. Fourthly, we cannot compare two essay rewards because they are different in length and contents. Straight ranking method. Under this method, relative ranks are assigned by the evaluator to all the employees in the same work unit doing the same job. Employees are assigned ranks from the best to the poorest on the basis of overall performance. For example, if 5 persons, namely P, Q, R, S, T, are to be ranked, the ranking can be as follows. Employees rank P, Q, R, S, T and the rank is 3, 1, 4, 5, 1. This method is the simplest method and saves a lot of time. But this method has several limitations. Firstly, ranking of individuals with different behavior patterns or traits is quite difficult if the number of persons to be rated are large. Secondly, it can be biased because reward is not based on specifically defined measures of job-related performance. Thirdly, this method only tells how a person stands in relation to others in the groups but does not tell how much better or worse he is than another. Under forced distribution method of reward, the rater distributes his ratings in the form of a normal frequency distribution. Organizations adopt this method of reward to eliminate the rater's bias of central tendency. After that, ranking technique is used. Reward with this method is very simple to understand and can be applied very easily. It also helps to minimize bias involved in paired comparison and straight ranking method. Graphic rating scale method is a numerical scale which indicates different degrees of a particular trait. A printed form is given to the rater for recording the ratings of each employee. The form contains different characteristics relating to the personality and performance analysis. Leadership qualities, judgments, intelligence, etc. are few examples of such characteristics. The rater records his judgment on the employee's trait on the scale. This method of reward is used by many organizations because it is very simple to understand and easy to use. Performance of employees can be categorized clearly and specifically. It also facilitates easy linkage to compensation increase. But this method has certain limitations. The first one is rating are generally arbitrary and subjective because specific job related performance criteria are not considered. Secondly, it assumes that each trait is equally important for all kinds of jobs. Thirdly, descriptive words are used in rating scales which may have different meanings to different raters. Under checklist method, a checklist is prepared which describes the characteristics and performance of the employees on the job. The rater is then asked to check if the behavior of an employee is positive or negative to each statement. The performance of an employee is rated on the basis of number of positive checks. There can be three types of checklist: simple checklist wherein each statement is given equal importance, weighted checklist wherein weights are assigned to different statements to indicate their relative importance, and forced choice checklist wherein statements are given for each trait, two most descriptive statements and two least descriptive statements and one neutral statement. The rater is asked to check one statement each from the most descriptive and least descriptive ones. This approach is adopted to minimize the rater's personal bias. In critical incident method, the supervisor keeps a diary in which he keeps a proper record of critical incidents and how different employees behave during such events. The rating of an employee is based on positive and negative behaviors during these events. For example, a sudden breakdown of machine, a strike, a severe accident can be identified as critical incident for the working of a factory. Management by objective is another method. Some organization asked employees to set or help set their own performance objective so that they do not feel that they are being judged by very high standards. Under this method, performance objectives are set up with each employee by the manager. These objectives are then used to appraise performance of employees. After setting up performance objectives, the managers provide feedback to the employees periodically. All the methods discussed so far emphasize more upon the assessment of past performance of employees rather than future performance. Before taking any placement decision, some prediction of future is very important. Assessment center method helps out the organization in doing so. It involves multiple assessment of several individuals working simultaneously by a group of trained evaluators using a variety of group and individual exercises. Employees from different departments are brought together and they are made to work on individual and group assignments similar to ones they will be handling if they are promoted. BARS method. Behaviorally anchored rating scale method is used for assessing behaviors required for performing a job successfully. When each job is likely to have many dimensions and separate scales are required to be developed for each individual. It defines the dimensions to be evaluated in behavioral terms and uses critical events to anchor different performance levels. Under this method, all the incidents which are relevant to the performance of jobs are identified with the help of job analysis. Then a numerical value is assigned to each job which shows the weight assigned to it. 360-degree method. Under this method of reward, information is collected from more than one source, that is subordinates, superior, peers, customers and oneself, so as to obtain 360-degree view of an individual performance. Evaluation includes both the ratings of individual employees by superior on elements in an employee's performance plan and the evaluation of programs and teams by senior managers. Subordinates can provide valuable feedback about its superiors with such a leadership style, subordinate development initiatives, reports and documents, and planning and organization of work. Peers can also provide useful feedback on a co-employee's job performance, and employees are generally very interested in rating each other. Peer rating is more useful when the employee's expertise is known or the performance and results can be observed. The employee himself is also asked to identify the key accomplishments which best represent his performance in critical and non-critical performance elements. There are various factors which are favoring effective performance reward. Performance reward system must be well defined, corporately supported and monitored. It must be widely communicated and focused towards achieving corporate objectives. A performance reward system must be integrated as part of a performance management system aligned towards achieving corporate goals. The rewards are discussed as simple rating system. The rating system must be very simple and must be based on job analysis so as to ensure accuracy and fairness of performance evaluation of employees. Training in reward system. All the employees of the organization must be well trained to use the reward system so that they can understand the objective, methodology and purpose of performance reward. This will help to build the credibility and transparency of reward system. Reward system must be based on correct and up-to-date job descriptions, and rating is made on observable performance. This will bring out greater objectivity in the reward process and outcomes. Free from biases. Evaluation should be free from personal biases of the evaluator and must be based on standard guidelines for evaluation. A presence of reward system is worse than having no reward system at all because it has a negative impact on the morale, productivity and motivation of the employees. Participative. A good performance reward system must be developed after discussion among the employees to be evaluated because it helps to develop confidence of employees in the system. Performance feedback. Performance feedback must be provided to employees for creating joint action plans for rectifying deficiencies in performance and suggesting measures for improving performance in future. Combining absolute and relative standards. Reward must be done by combining absolute and relative performance standards so that objectives of job performance are realistic and achievable. Behavior-based measures must be used for correcting and developing desired employee attitude, motivation, and behavior for directing and controlling employee efforts and outcomes. Employees should be appraised on the basis of performance objective so that employees are rated for the level of performance expected from them. Training and development. Performance rewards should be used the development of employees so that gaps in skills and competencies are identified and removed for improving performance of employees. Recognize and reward achievement. Reward should identify, reward, reinforce and publicize employee achievements so that they feel motivated and serve as a role model for others to improve. And final are identification of improvement areas and confidence and acceptability of employees. Performance reward system should be such that employees develop complete faith in the reward system. Performance reward system will not be effective without employee acceptance. To summarize the discussion, performance is basically the work which an employee does. It refers to the degree of accomplishment of the tasks that make up an employee's job. It reflects up to what extent an employee is performing his or her duties. Thus, performance is an outcome of employees' job performance, including quality, quantity, cooperativeness, punctuality, commitment at work. It's an evaluative approach. According to this approach, performance of previous year is used to make decisions related to promotions, demotions, and transfers. It is also used for determining the effectiveness of recruitment and selection process. Developmental approach focus on the development needs of employees. Managers act as mentor or coach for rewarding performance of the employees. Managers also take necessary steps to improve performance of the employees. There are different methods of performance reward like confidential report, free form or essay method, straight ranking method, forced distribution method, checklist method, critical incident method, MBO, assessment center method, bars method, 360-degree method, and graphing rating scale. Happy learning!